Alright, so we're going to be talking about graphs, equations, and inequalities and all the relationship between all of those. And this is day one of this. So we're going to be focusing on writing or determining the equation if you're given the graph of a line or the inequality when you're given a graph. Okay, some things to know or remember. We're going to be using the format of slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, where b is your y-intercept, which is where the line crosses or intersects the axis. So your y-intercept is going to be one point that you find, okay, when you need to, and then once you have this point, that's going to be your starting point to use your slope, which will find your second point, which will end up giving you your line. All right, so now we need to find determine the equation for each line. So let's start, and our y-intercept is right there at 4. It's a positive 4, so we know that, let's say we do this as a y equals. It'd be y equals something plus 4. Okay, so this something x, whatever's in front of the x is going to be your slope. Okay, so you either go down or up depending on which way you're going to need to go to get to the line, and you want to go, so you're going to look along this line until you get to another spot where two grid lines intersect, which is right here. So we're going to go down 2, and then that, because you go straight down until you get to that spot, and then right 3. So when you go right, it's always positive. When you go down, that means it's negative. All right, so our slope is negative 2/3. Okay, so our equation is y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. That's what that is right there. All right, for this next one, same thing. Find your y-intercept, your 5, and then find the next spot where it intersects two grid lines, which is right there. So we're going down 2 and right 1. Okay, down 2, so it's a negative because we went down, and then right 1. So that translates to just a negative 2. Our y-intercept is 5, which gives us an equation of y equals negative 2x plus 5. Okay, now, so if we talk about inequalities versus equations, you do the same procedures as with an equation, but you do 2 additional steps. The first step is to determine which inequality symbol you use. So to do that, you look at the line. If the line is solid, you're going to have an or equal to with the symbol. So if the line is solid, it's going to look like that or like that. If the line is dashed, it's a dashed line, it's going to look like that or that, so no line underneath. So a solid line looks like this, dashed line, you guys might call it dotted, but it's actually dashed, looks like that. Okay, now as far as with an inequality, there's going to be shading either above or below or to the left or to the right of the line. So if shading is above the line or to the right of it, if the line is vertical, then the inequality symbol opens towards the variable. So when I say towards, I mean like this. Okay, so that's towards. If the shading is below the line or to the left of it, it faces away from the variable. So that would be in the case of like that. All right, so let's take a look at some of those. So we want to determine the linear inequality that represents the graph below. So here we have a y-intercept. So you're still doing the same thing. So we're still finding that y-intercept, which in this case is negative 6. To get to our next intersection point, which is down here, we go down 2, right 1. So our slope is negative 2. And our shading is below the line. So we can basically do everything we did before. We can say, all right, so it's going to be y equals, all right, negative 2x minus 6, but instead of equals, because now we have an inequality, we need to look at that. Is our line solid? Yes, so that means it's going to have that line underneath. Is it below the line or to the left of it? In this case, yes. Okay, if the line has an angle to it, you look and see if it's above or below. Even though you're like, oh, well, this is to the left. No, if it has an angle, just say, okay, is it above or below? It's below. All right, so that means that it's opening away from that. So our final answer would be y is less than or equal to negative 2x minus 6. Same thing over here. Find your b, which is -2, your slope. So from here, if I go up 1 or up 2, so up +2 this time, right 1, that gives me a slope of 2. So my equation is y is greater than or equal to +2x minus 2, and it's positive because, and this is why I said you got to be careful about looking to the left or right when the line has a slope to it, because if I say, well, to the left, so that must be less than or equal to, but when you look at this one, you can go above the line and that's where it's shaded. This is what I was talking about where it's to the left or right. Alright, so this is the only case where your line is straight up and down. And in that case, instead of you having your typical y equals 2, in this case, it's going to be x, because x is the only value that we have, and that's that right there. So you notice this is 1, that's x is at -2, and x is greater than because it's to the right of the line. Okay, there is no above or below. So basically, if you can't go above or below the line because it's straight up and down, it's going to be x. Plain and simple, that's the only time it's going to happen. It's a dashed line, see these spaces in between, so there's no or equal to, and because it's shaded to the right, it's x is greater than, and then whatever the value of x is, or wherever that line's at. So this one's a little bit easier. We do know it's above, okay, so that will tell us it's a y, and since it's above, y is greater than, it's dashed, so we're going to leave it the way it is. And then all you have to do is say, okay, y is greater than what? Where is this line at? 3. So y is greater than 3. And that's all there is to this video, guys. The next one we're going to be doing a little bit of graphing, so if any of this is confusing, just hang tight for a little bit and see if the next video helps it make a little bit of sense. Alright, that is it. Have a good one.